Alright, we're back for another shit show. I'm here
Shit
with
show.
Panda.
Great show.
Another shit show. I'm here with
No
Panda.
Shy this time,
No,
so
no
who
Shy.
knows?
Although, Shy wasn't here for the beginning last time. Shy might join in randomly in the middle. You never know.
Shy
I don't
can't
think
join
he
in the
can.
middle.
Yeah, he
This is a
can't. He
private
can't this
call.
time. Should we switch calls?
Restart the recording. Do it
No,
again.
no, we're not restarting. Quick, go to the Battle Preps channel. Go, 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 go. Hell yeah. Alright, now he can join us. Cool. Um, we're professionals. Alright,
No, we're not.
as you can tell, we're here for a shit show, as I said. This is not gonna go well. It never has, it never will. Um, but Panda and I are back to do some team recaps and rankings for these lovely people that we are playing with this season. So let's hop right in with number 10. We don't need any more fucking setup for this.
Yeah.
We'll hop right in with number 10. We got tired. Tired Boy, I think is what his username is on Discord. I think
Yeah, probably. The Lavender
something
Town
like that.
Lifeguards.
The Lavender Town Lipards. Uh, I want to preface, as we did last season, with just that none of these teams are bad. I think Tired's team is actually really scary. I've already been doing some prep work helping Blank with it, and it can be really scary, but it's definitely it has its flaws, and we're gonna talk about them a little bit. Maybe give Tired some ideas for some potential trades that could make it better. We upgraded the amount of trades this season from 4 to 7, so hopefully that will encourage people to do more and make their teams a bit higher in the rankings. We're never gonna do another one of these, but
Unless we get paid.
unless we get paid. Someone wants to pay us to do like a week 2 rankings, how things have changed after the fucking weeks. We'll do it. We'll fucking do it. We're sellouts. We'll do it.
One pizza apiece.
Yeah, that's all it takes. So to talk very broadly about his team, um, it's it's very strong. It hits very hard. Excalibur, Gouging Fire, Infernape, all very strong, threatening Pokemon. He has some nice setup Pokemon with Contrary Superior, um, uh, and stuff like Iron Defense, Body Press, Bastiodon. It's crazy good. Uh, Gouging Fire and Excalibur also with just Dragon Dance, Infernape with Nasty Plot are all very strong Pokemon. Very much looking forward to how he uses his team. Unfortunately, I had some issues, particularly with the fact that a lot of Pokemon overlap in what they're good at. So, like, Bronzong and Bastiodon have very similar roles. They're both defensive steel types who set up rocks and do, like, the support thing. Superior and Sinistra are both very offensive grass types. Although Sinistra has some role outside of that. It definitely has potential outside of just that, but just again, listing some similarities, like Gouging Fire and Infernape are both potentially very fast offensive fire types. Um, Excalibur and Gouging Fire both want to set up Dragon Dance and Sweep. Um, so I had some big problems with that, and then Panda, if you want to talk a bit about the Terra typings we both had a problem with as well.
Yeah. Wochen Terrabug is very questionable with just quickly looking at it. Didn't see any practical application for it. And then Bastiodon being a Terra Poison type, like it has nothing that really makes poison worth the pick. Um where it's just like it's already weak to Earthquake, so something's gonna click Earthquake anyways, and you Terra Poison, you're still taking a ton. You're not quad weak anymore, but especially where it's like you can just go Terra Fighting and have a better lineup. So
Yeah.
those two Terra typings on each of those mons don't really help add any value to the team, and just kind of make you scratch your head looking at them and be like, these are probably never going to come, and limit your options.
And my big thing with poison is I get why you picked Terra Poison to like resist fighting types, as being quad weak to them, but Ghost is just such a better option for that. You become immune to the fighting types, and you're not weak to your other quad weakness anymore. Where poison still makes you take super effective damage from ground type moves. And I think Wo-Chien is probably something similar with the fighting, but you have Fairy for that, which makes you resist both bug and fighting, which were major weaknesses for you. So I don't know where the bug Terra is coming from exactly. I don't know what it's doing. But yeah, for the most part, like I said, not a bad team. It's actually seems really fun, and I've had fun mocking already with it, but it's it has its problems. We kind of laid them out already. The Terra typings, the similar roles. It also has
Not
a
a
few
ton of
really big
recovery.
weaknesses we didn't touch on. Very weak to ice, flying, and rock, which are all prevalent offensive typings. Um,
Never hate on bird spam.
Bird spam is so crazy, and being so weak to flying is gonna be rough. No Trio's about to run your team. Um, Jokes aside, again, not a bad team. Just probably picking up things to shore up those resistances. Maybe swapping out either like Bastiodon or Bronzong, swapping out so that way you don't have 3 grass types with Wo-Chien, Sinistra, and Serperior. I honestly I love Gouging Fire. I think Gouging Fire is a bit misplaced on this team. I think that could open up a lot of points to swap out some other Pokemon around and put this team in a really, really good spot. It wouldn't take a lot, but just where it is, fortunately, it's bottom of the barrel for us. And jumping right into number 9, I don't think this one's going to surprise anyone. We have ChatGPT, aka Flyer the
Big
coach of
surprise.
the Rotom Rebellion. Yeah, ChatGPT is drafted a really, really scary looking team. I see this team and I don't want anything to do with it. But as soon as I start diving deeper and looking at like, okay, what are the stat lines like? What are the weaknesses? Um, I come up on some pretty glaring ones. The speed tiers are wild. It's so fast that lowers any Pokemon basically between the speed tier of like 90 to 40 is going to be running like Adamant or Impish or something like that. They're not going to put speed investment in. They're not going to put like speed EVs in, which means they can add that to HP and be bulkier. And it's not. I feel like, especially being that you lack damage potential, your highest offensive stat is Zapdos at 125 special attack. It's gonna be really hard for you to really handle those Pokemon who have that extra bulk investment. Or, I mean, yeah, you have a really bulky team with Toxapex, Steelix as like a core, and Gastrodon sitting there. I didn't add Toxapex here. Toxapex is on this team. Where the fuck is Toxapex? When did he draft Toxapex?
He drafted that under Zapdos between Gastrodon.
I don't think I can add it in the middle there. I'm just gonna add it to the end. Professionalism. Uh, so yeah, Toxapex Steelix has a nice core. They both share the ground type weakness, but you have two flying types to shore that up. You definitely have the bulk to handle those offensive Pokemon who are putting more in their attacks instead of speed. But I think if someone plays the bulky offensive game with you, someone with a good Wish Passer maybe, it's gonna be really hard for you to handle them. Um, so I do want to touch just a little bit on why I think this team is better than Tired's. It doesn't have any of those major glaring weaknesses. Um, oops, wrong tab. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, it's pretty weak to ground and pretty weak to rock, but it's not as weak as Tired's team was to both of those typings. And ground being really spammable is a big deal, but you have two immunities, so I feel comfortable that you could pivot around them. And you have really great Terra captains. Really great Terra captains. Holy shit, do I love your Terra captains.
A little biased in that one, but
Lycanroc is gonna go crazy. If
hopefully
ChatGPT tells you to bring it. If ChatGPT tells you to bring it. uh, which is also we didn't take the coach into account. So we didn't take into account the fact that ChatGPT is probably not going to use half the crazy things that I'm seeing with this team. So I have some really cool ideas that could work really well, but ChatGPT probably isn't going to let you use them. Um, so unfortunately, you're sitting at 9th place, and we can probably just move on to 8th. There's not a whole lot to talk about with ChatGPT.team.
yeah.
If you want to take over introducing 8th place, we'll take turns.
Yeah, so 8th place is Goose, the Weavile Warriors. What starts when you look at this team immediately? It seems like it's going to be a very nice rain team, and then you take another second to look at it and be like, as Trev had pointed out to me, this team can't do much to another water type,
Mm-hmm.
and also doesn't really have like a good answer to just Thunderbolt spam,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is a huge issue for a water team, well, a rain team. So while there's some things where you can see a lot of the synergies, the overall strategy of the team doesn't end up getting fully rounded out, and that's part of the reason that we're ranking it a lot lower.
Mm-hmm.
Mousehold Fire into a rain team seems also slightly like a weird pick.
Yeah,
Um,
I had recommended either ground or fire for him to be able to hit steel types with. I probably would have gone ground over fire. I wasn't really thinking of the rain team when I had mentioned it, and I probably would have specified that if I had been thinking of it. Um, but even still, it it's just you don't. Your ways to hit another water type are Thunderbolt on Goldengo, Thunder Punch on Urshifu, and Thunderbolt on Hatterene. What do you do to Gastrodon? What do you do to Swampert? Uh,
what do you do to Plasmatoads?
yeah, Sasmito didn't get drafted, but it's just it it becomes very apparent that bulky water type with good coverage can really hurt your team. And you do have a great answer for Thunderbolt spam in Tinglu. It's a very good Pokemon to put on your rain team. Except for when you realize that most of your team is also weak to grass. So Tinglu's there's just as much of a chance that they're throwing grass type moves out as they are electric type moves, and well, Vikavolt didn't get drafted, so you're not gonna have to worry about that. Things like Galvantula with both Thunder and Energy Ball, or I think it's Giga Drain actually that it gets. And there are a few other Pokemon that get that sort of coverage, with both Electric and Grass. Um, are just gonna put Ting-Lu in a really bad position. And then also water types with electric type coverage. Uh, like we said, run through your team. Because you can't really handle the water types that well, and then electric type coverage just hurts. And yeah, you send out Ting-Lu, but they click Surf.
And especially where most likely you're going to have the rain up, that just kind of exemplifies the issue.
And this team definitely does function without the rain as well. But so like I don't want to say like call it a rain team and put it in that bucket because it does do a lot of things outside of the rain as well. But outside the rain, you're also like it's hard to the electric type weakness is huge, the grass type weakness is huge.
Yeah, otherwise, like, I think if you can just maybe maybe give up Ting-Lu and try and get a couple of other picks to kind of round out a couple of things.
Mhm.
15 points between like 3 spots. 2 or 3 spots
What
ain't bad.
tier is actually I would honestly what might be better is swapping out Barraskewda and
Henry?
Ting-Lu for Barraskewda and Ting-Lu for where is he? Where is he? Where is he? What tier did I put him in? Where's this buff fish? Where's Mega Swampert? Oh, Mega Swamp!
You
You
can't
can't
grab
grab
Swampert.
Mega Swampert. You can't grab Swampert. Swampert was already taken. That's true. That's why I wasn't noticing it. It is 15 points though. Heh. But yeah, no, I do agree, and I think getting a Pokemon like Kingdra or something instead of Barraskewda, who can be that Rain Sweeper without adding to your weaknesses, could be huge. I also think, unfortunately, Zapdos was already drafted. Um, Thundurus Therian was already drafted. Thundurus is still around, the incarnate form. And a strong electric type could go a long way in fixing your weakness to water types, to other water types.
So
Um,
also just to kind of point out the Kingdra thing, it's 12 points. So if you swapped out the Ting-Lu, you have another 3 points to pick up another Mon,
mhm.
which there's plenty of 3-point Mons that I'm sure could do something with.
Mhm. Um,
Uh,
there are definitely some really good 3-pointers sitting
Manectric, there
around.
you go. Something to Volt Absorb all the electric moves that are coming your way.
Yeah, that's solid. Good recommendation, Panda. Good recommendation.
Or if you don't want to be a coward, get Maractus. There you
Get
go.
Maractus, Storm Drain. Storm Drain for those water types, those pesky water types. Um,
Oh.
so 7th place was Top Hat, and I fought tooth and nail to get this team as high ranked as I could because I really like this team. Um,
You did. I'll be honest. I ranked this team bottom at first, and then
I fought
Trev had a
tooth and
killed me on
nail.
this.
I started throwing out all these other teams have these crazy big weaknesses. This team is it's so strong with like Mega Gallade. Walking Wake in the sun is going to be crazy. Um, but yeah, I mean that is a large part of this. I think this team does a much better job at being a sun team than Goose's did at being a rain team, in my opinion. It functions outside of the sun, I think, better than Goose's does outside of the rain, and its abusers aren't getting crippled by the the weather that you're
Same
setting.
bonuses.
Like you're not making other water types just really want to come out against you with the rain. You're not making other fire types crazy good into you necessarily. Although you do have a decent fire weakness. So that's something to keep in mind. But you have Walking Wake, who's going to be your primary Sun Abuser, and quad resists fire. Which I think is great. It's amazing. You have Thick Fat Hariyama too, to help with that. And I also, our biggest thing why we put it as low as we did is that we didn't really like the Terra Captains. If you want to talk about those a little bit, Panda, because I know you felt a bit stronger than I did with those.
Yeah. For it's a choice. For it's a choice. And like normal fairy, okay. The fire I can see just because you're gonna have the sun up. And then the Escavalier of like steel fighting water. It's like it's all okay. But
I do want to make that clear distinction. It's not the Terra Captains are good on their own right. It's just that we think you had better options.
it's one of those things. Both of these mons can never really come in the same week because they both are really gonna want and need the Terra typing. And if they can't get it, then the other one's just kind of like, oh well, I'm useless now.
Mhm.
There's also not really any recovery on this team.
It is Grassy
So
Train
like,
from Arbalva.
which is like,
It's
if
not
you're
a
just
lot,
hoping
but
to
it's
double
there.
leftovers on your team, then
Hmm
that's not gonna really hold up because like, well, things like Escavalier and Klefki and some other stuff can be a little
The
bulky. They would appreciate a little bit more.
A really cool set that I did throw out that kind of covers that is uh Ninetales gets Healing Wish. You you send it out, get the drought up, and sack it to heal something else back up to full. And that can swing a
That
game
very much
from
can be a
being a loss
game winning
to
play.
suddenly sweeping. Yeah. So definitely fun things to keep in mind. Yeah. The Terra Captains that we were talking about, we would recommend over for and Escavalier were Arbalva and Blossom. Specifically, I think it would be two trades, one to swap each Terra Captain out. I think that making Arbalva grass, fire, and maybe ghost or something. I don't know. Or maybe water. Grass, fire, water. Honestly, isn't bad either. Um, something like that. Just a defensive typing, maybe fairy, maybe poison for Arbalva. I've used Terra Poison Arbalva a lot. It's been really good.
Goes hard.
But fire for just the offensive potential, clicking Terra Blast in the sun, it's gonna be crazy strong. And then Blossom also with grass and fire Terra types. Blossom with Chlorophyll with Terra Blast, Terra Fire. It's gonna hurt. It's not a great Pokemon, but
Don't
it's
sleep,
gonna do
especially
stuff.
since I'm pretty sure it gets Quiver Dance. So like,
It does
don't
get Quiver
sleep on
Dance.
the thing.
And then something like Terra Fairy or something, just something defensive to shore up its last Terra type, so that way it can potentially set up Quiver Dances and maybe not rely on the sun, maybe not need to be Chlorophyll if it sets up Quiver Dances. Um, its other ability is pretty useless, so I wouldn't ever run Healer in singles, but Chlorophyll is just better in case the sun comes up. You never know. Um, yeah, I think I think that about covers what we wanted to talk about with this team. I really like it overall. We didn't talk much about like Mega Gallade and Galvantula. I think they're both crazy good Pokemon. Talonflame and Garganacl too. Um, we talked a lot more
Those
about the
good
sun
mons kind of do
aspects.
speak for themselves.
Yeah, like those top four picks are all great Pokemon. Um, it just absolutely insane, and I love it. You want to take the next one? Actually, no. Yeah, you take the next one. So we're gonna need you to. Yeah,
Uh,
right.
so wait, next is Shy, right?
Next is Shy.
Shy, the Gothenburg Murkrows.
Actually, I'll take Shy.
You want to
I'll
take
I'll
Shy?
take Shy because I'm gonna need you to take the next one. So, um, Shy. What do we have to say about Shy? Shy is coach of the Gothenburg Murkrows. His team looks really awkward on paper, and that's something that I've talked to him a bit about. A lot of other coaches have talked to him about. Like just looking at this team, doesn't look crazy scary. The more you look at it, the more you look like behind the scenes stuff like fucking the Galarian Slowking setting up Hail for both Glastrier and Beartic. How powerful those Pokemon are in Hail. It's terrifying. There's a lot of really good synergies with some other Pokemon here. Zoroark just being able to beat any other Pokemon and really fuck someone up is great. And all of Arcanine Hisuian's abilities are amazing. Drafting that first round pick is honestly a crazy smart play, in my opinion. Um, but our big issue with it, our big issue with it is that you are very weak to fire and electric, and rock. Fire and rock in particular, you are lucky you grabbed Arcanine Hisui, because if you didn't, someone else did, it would sweep your team.
And the problem with that being your answer is I'm pretty sure that thing's still very weak to Earthquake. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
most rock types that are threatening you can very easily just click Earthquake as well.
Yep. But yeah, that was our big thing is mostly the fire and rock. The electric, you have no resistances to. You have Sandy Shocks to eat a Volt Switch. Um, but like I talked with on Goose's team, a lot of them get coverage for like grass or like a lot of them get like grass knot or energy ball or something like that. And a lot of the lower tier ones, if they were made a Terra Captain, they've got some ice coverage most likely. Like Panda's Alolan Raichu we'll talk about later. I don't think many other electric type Terra Captains actually got picked.
No.
Which is crazy to me because I think electric types make some of the best Terra Captains. Vikavolt went hard last season for me, but to each their own. I think some really high notes that make this team as high up as it is. Glacier's Terra typings and just Glacier as a Terra Captain in general, but Glacier and Beartic being so good in the snow with their Terra typings, Terra Electric for Volt Beam coverage on Glacier. We talked about Beartic, why you have Terra Water is so that way maybe outside of snow you just run like Choice Banded, Adamant, Terra Water, Aqua Jet, and that's gonna hurt like a motherfucker. Um, Dragonite with Multiscale is always great to have. A lot of these Pokemon speak for themselves. Milotic is terrifying, so bulky. Fucking hate that Pokemon. Scizor hits like a
Such a
small
good
truck.
one. Yeah,
Um,
between Beartic and Scizor, just the double Sword Stance priority is very much gonna put some teams in a very just tight spot near the end game of like, if you can't knock these both out in one move, then you're just gonna get run through.
hmm Yeah. I don't think I have a whole lot else to say about Shy's team other than that. And yeah, the thing with the fire type weakness especially is that it takes into account the fact that Arcanine has Flash Fire. It counts Arcanine as an immunity. You're never running Flash Fire Arcanine. Don't lie to me. You have Rocket and Intimidate. You're never running Flash Fire.
You never know.
So now you can take this next one. I got a little confused on the order, which is why I wanted you to take Shy's, but then I
Uh,
realized next is me.
Next is you. Um, yeah. So Trev's team, the Massachusetts Metapods. Um, what started being what I believe is a grass team of
Grassy
sorts.
Train. Yep.
Yeah. Um, starts off with some really solid mons, Mega Diancie, Heatran, Rillaboom, real nice set of mons that appreciate the grassy terrain Rillaboom to set it up, and provide some utility.
Only Fallujah without
Um,
Unburden.
I was about to touch on that. Halucha can sit there and abuse it in a very different way, where it's just like, oh yeah, I can just throw on Grassy Seed on Burden and go
Mhm.
ham. Zygarde 50% is a very bulky boy that can sit there and also appreciate it. Um, Things like Drapion, where it's just like, oh, your only weakness is Earthquake. That is now cut in half. Um, with a little bit of extra recovery depending on the set that you're running.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Overall, very solid team. Um, it's nothing like overly impressive and
Yeah.
like nothing flashy. Which is honestly sometimes just a fine thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Uh, Frefrig is your wish passer. That's what it
Farigiraf
was.
is my wish passer with that base 120 HP stat. It's gonna
Which
go
is dumb.
crazy.
Um, and even some mons like Lapras has its own technical ability to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Dodrio has Roost. So pretty bulky, has like recovery.
Yep.
It's gonna be a tough team to break at times. Um, I think we just ended up being like this. It's nice, but it doesn't do more than the
Yeah.
other four teams. Which is kind of really what it came down to near
Yep.
this kind of top half, which is like, especially the next top three, we're very much just like, where do we want to put these?
I do
And
think the top five are pretty interchangeable though. I think it's
yeah,
pretty close with a lot of these teams. This is when
I
the
think
teams
if you
started getting like they were covering all their weaknesses. They had set multiple hazard setters and removers. They had a nice wish passer. It's like these teams had everything you want on a good draft team.
again, if we were taking coaches into account, then like we may have had like a little bit of an easier time picking things. But as we were kind of just going off of what the teams actually provided, it's still not a team to sleep on, but
Mhm.
it's definitely just earned its spot at the fifth place.
And I want to just briefly touch on I did advocate for my team to be lower. I advocated for it to be fifth place. Panda was actually thinking a bit higher at first. Um, I don't think my team's all that great. I think it lacks a lot of offensive potential without setup. Uh, it's really just Thundurus Therian and Mega Diancie who hit really hard, and neither of them ever. Diancie can't run a boosting item, and Thundurus really doesn't want to very often. So it's hard for me to capitalize on their high attacking stats. And then I'm sitting at around like 120 for most of mine. Zygarde only has a base 100 attack stat, which is really hard to make use of without setting up Dragon Dances. Um, some fun little synergies though that I specifically wanted to just call out because I think they're really funny. Is like I'm boosting grass type moves with the Grassy Train, but I have Sap Sipper Fergraph with potentially Terra Water that's only weak to electric now. Um, I have Lapras with Water Absorb. Te- Fucking Terra Water, Electric, Terra Fairy are great. I'm super looking forward to Stellar Terra on Dodrio. I think it's gonna be sad when Dodrio has like some of the most kills on my team by a long shot because I think it's one of my hardest hitting Pokemon. Um,
Swear to God, if that thing ends up being a kill leader, I'm gonna
it
cry.
it has really high base power moves like Brave Bird. It has a base 110 attack stat. Stellar Terra is gonna go crazy. Terra Flying Brave Birds are gonna hurt. Uh, it can potentially Terra Steel to eat a hit and get up a free Swords Dance. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fun.
Only had a good ability.
If only that's such a downside to it. It has no good abilities. So after me, again, these next few teams are pretty interchangeable. We actually argued quite a bit on who was gonna go where for these last 5. Um, so next up is Arcandro. Arcandro, the California Catgirls.
Which, by the way, I want to say I'm very mad that this is the only team that isn't like a Pokemon naming team in the entire league.
Yup, yup. It's alright. It's alright. It's fine. I really like this team. Um, I think it has some crazy strong Pokemon, a really powerful just Chien-Pao and Iron Valiant. Off the bat, great Pokemon. Iron Valiant is so versatile. Chien-Pao hits so hard. Hop right into Pecharunt. This thing is way too bulky. Way too bulky. It should not exist. I hate it. I don't. Way too bulky. It's a good thing this thing doesn't get coverage. Um, a good steel type kind of walls it, which is great. It's the only reason that it's balanced, in my opinion. Duraludon with Eviolite now, after Archelodon got introduced, with some great Terra typings, Steel Ghost and Grass. Alchemy for just really solid Pokemon. Does Alchemy get Wish?
I believe so.
That is somewhat important to me because if not, I don't think he
It
has a
does
Wish
not.
Passer. So yeah, he doesn't have a Wish Passer, but his team is more offensive anyways. Alchemy is. I didn't want to let it Terra at first. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Um, I didn't want to let it Terra at first because I think Terra Fairy is insane with Calm Mind Training Kiss. This thing will never die. I think Terra Ground to be able to hit Steel types, is just insane. It already got Mystical Fire, I believe. Yes, it did. So it could already hit Steel types, but being able to hit like something like my Heatran, who has Flash Fire, just really good, really nice to have. Also Fire types who resist your Fairy type moves. Terra Ground. There you go. Um, and then Terra Psychic. This thing gets Calm Mind stored power.
It's a mon and a half. Especially where you also can't taunt or encore it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's immune to Taunt and Encore, so it's really hard to stop it from setting up and just kind of doing its thing. Um, Swampert, he originally wanted Gastrodon here. I think Swampert is a nice replacement, but I think Gastrodon would have been better on this team. Um, Unfortunately, he got sniped. But like the rest of his Pokemon are really just good and fun. Tinkaton and Electros, nice bulky, kind of more support mons with some decent offensive potential. Tinkaton just has a really high base power move. Electros has good attacks. Staraptor and Moltres both bird spam, like we were talking about earlier. Bird spam is crazy strong. Being able to go from Brave Bird into Hurricane with these two is going to be crazy because you can't wall it necessarily. You have a physical wall, well, you send out the special one. Moltres is also going to be able to hit steel types that would resist it. Staraptor can also hit them with close combat, steel and rock types.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very pain just to deal with those two swapping in and out.
Mhm. And then
Um,
I don't think Morgrim's going to come often, but Morgrim with Eviolite, as Dragon likes to point out pretty consistently, it has higher defenses than Grimmsnarl. With Eviolite. So
oh no.
it's gonna be annoying. It's definitely not anywhere near as Grimmsnarl, but it's definitely a very good value pick for 1 point. Um, and yeah, overall, nothing really wrong with this team. It's just more so that the other teams are really good. Um, or I guess we did have, well, you pointed out a big issue to me while we were talking, and I
Yeah,
can't remember what it was.
the stealth rock weakness.
Yes, you have very little hazard removal. That's what it is. You have very little hazard removal. You have default Gun Moltres and Staraptor. And they're not gonna want to run
Like
defog like ever.
Moltres doesn't mind running heavy duty boots, just so that way it doesn't have to, and like it can use defog and be a little bit defensive. Staraptor would much prefer either a choice scarf or a choice band, and past that, you don't really got options.
And between that and not having much healing, I don't think it's Stealth Rocks that's gonna be a problem for him. I think it's gonna be Spikes. Spikes are gonna wear down his team. He can't really pivot around. He's gonna have once he sends a Pokemon in, he's gonna kinda have to commit to it, or else he doesn't have great recovery, he doesn't have a Wish Passer, so things like Swampert, Iron Valiant, Shenpao aren't gonna come in multiple times. Petront has Recover, Alchemy can heal itself, also has Recover, so I'm not too worried about those two. But like Duraludon even isn't gonna come in multiple times most likely. So he has very few Pokemon who are weak to rock. It's actually just Shenpao and his two birds. So Stealth Rock's maybe not the biggest worry, but Spikes
Definitely
and
just hazard swapping.
hazards in general, sticky webs are going to be a big problem for this team because a lot of Shenpao and Iron Valiant, they capitalize a lot on being faster than other Pokemon. You suddenly drop their speed down, and you can't get rid of those webs. It's going to be a problem for you. It's a problem I think you can definitely overcome and deal with, but it is definitely going to be a problem. And yeah, I don't know if I would recommend any trades other than swap Morgrem out for some one pointer that gets spin, which there aren't many of. Maybe like Wartortle. If you like Wartortle with Rapid Spin, might be one of the better ones off the top of my head. There was Delibird, but we'll get to that one later. Someone else picked that up.
Yeah, I think maybe you might want to just look at Chien-Pao, Iron Valiant, and maybe just pick one of those and be like, that's your high ranking Mon.
Although they
And then
do cover
drop
each
the other
other
one into a
very
couple
nicely.
points. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a tough choice. They both complement each other very well, but because a lot more of the team needs effort, you might just need to drop one of those to kind of round the rest out.
He is also at 11 Pokemon, so he doesn't really have space to add many more. So.
Well, if you want to drop, let's say Chien-Pao, Morgrem, and that's 20 points between 3 slots. You
It could
can
definitely
definitely
go far.
round a bunch out.
Yep. Alright. So, I'm gonna have to introduce this next one too, because next up is in fact Panda.
The dog shit team, let's go!
The Toronto Tyrannitars went from last place in the rankings last season to third, and almost first, because these top three especially were debatable. Really, really good electric train team. I don't really have much else to say. The synergy is great. These Pokemon, the offensive synergy, I should say, is great. These Pokemon cover each other's. There's nothing that they can't hit for super effective amongst each other. Just like the three main ones of Tapu Koko, Iron Boulder, and Alolan Raichu. And they're gonna outspeed literally everything, always. Fleavor for free rocks is amazing. We love free rocks. Aegislash-Blissey is a stupid defensive core. Especially with Mega Venusaur just chilling in the back. Mega Venusaur doesn't have to Mega turn 1, can have Chlorophyll for that Torkoal. Leavanny is a Chlorophyll sweeper as well. Lots of really cool offensive synergies, like I said. My big problem with this team is you have one ground type immunity and one resistance. It's a quad resistance, but it's also Leavanny.
That's
And
gonna Terrafire and immediately lose that resistance anyways.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 ground type weaknesses. So, Earthquake is the most spammable move in the game, and it's going to hurt. If you can outspeed them, you can, which you definitely can, and they can't stall out your terrain or something, you might be able to just punch a hole through someone's team, and that ground type weakness isn't going to be a worry. You are a very offensive team, very potent, very strong, with some nice defensive cores, like I said, but those defensive cores don't cover your biggest weakness. So, if a strong ground type manages to come in and can take a hit or outspeed, if you're maybe outside the terrain, so your Raichu doesn't have its Surge Surfer or Iron Boulder doesn't have the Quark Drive boost, and they can either take a hit or outspeed, it starts going downhill fast from there. Um, that is the biggest thing. Otherwise, I think your Terra Captains are great. I love your Terra typings. Again, the offensive synergy is amazing. You just really have to keep the pressure up all game. That's the biggest thing, is can you keep up the pressure?
Yeah, that's even when I was drafting it, I got to a certain point where I was just like, oh, this is a lot of ground weakness. This is going to become a big problem, which is why I started slightly molding some of my picks.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, your last three, Cryogonal has Levitate, Leavanny has a quad resistance to ground. Throw doesn't really do much, but Throw is Throw. We love Throw.
yeah,
Throw should have been
don't
a
hate
Terra
on bro.
Captain. Should have made Throw a Terra Captain instead of Leavanny.
If Throw got a good ability, I wouldn't.
He gets Guts.
Oh yes, I'm gonna guts what terror typing.
Uh, Terra flying, so that way you're not weak to ground anymore. He's not weak to ground, but I mean your team as a whole. And then he just gets bought by something in your electric train that gets a boosted hit,
Yeah.
but um I mean, yeah, overall I do really like this team, and I look forward to seeing you use it. I think it's gonna be really fun to use. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually using this team. It's got a lot of little niche interactions, like we kind of alluded to with the Torkoal Mega Venusaur not immediately just
Mm-hmm.
Mega Evolving, and Leavanny being a support mon that can also very much just go Chlorophyll, run at you, Terrafire.
That is another thing I didn't touch on. Your team is already very fast, especially in the terrain, but you don't necessarily need the train to outspeed things, especially with Leavanny's Sticky Web support. So that ground type may not be an issue if you can get it stuck in sticky webs.
Yeah, there's not like Leavanny just being like the number one speed controller, but there's a lot of ways I can manipulate speed with this team
Mm-hmm.
between Torkoal, Coco, and Leavanny that everyone's gonna have to kind of be like, okay, which mons does he feel like are gonna be my speedy mons, and how do you gotta answer them? Because not all of them have the same answer.
Yep. Yep. It's definitely a really hard team to prep for. Um, outside of every Pokemon has Earthquake.
You
Uh,
know, what do you know? My number one weakness, the most spammable move in the game.
yep. No, I think it would be very easy for someone to make a team where all 6 of their Pokemon have Earthquake and they just go. Uh, but I think outside of that, the prep is definitely very challenging, and it's gonna be interesting. Number 2. Would you like to take this one?
Uh,
You
Number
you did point
two,
out a lot of
Dragon.
weaknesses for it to me, so I wanna hear what you have to
Um,
say why it's not number 1.
yes, Dragon, the Cortland Clodsires, which the only reason why I can really sit there and give some of this team's weaknesses is because I've been prepping for it for my week one battle.
Mhm.
Um, overall, like, you want to look at it first, and you're just like, okay, you got Iron Bundle, Landos Therian, that's some nice power. We got some like Alola Mola and Tangrowth for Regenerator Core. Things are looking good. You got Fortress for Spinner and Hazard Setter. Um, Sadly, this team very much has its entire special defense like on Gudra. And like, sure, you can run Assault Vest Tangrowth. You have a Alola Mola to pass it big wishes,
Mhm.
but also putting all of your defenses onto one Mon ends up very much pigeonholing you and can very much be exploited if a trainer spends the time to do the calcs and put a game plan together of, okay, here's how I trap and get rid of Hisui and Gudra, which, um,
It being a steel type, there's
yeah,
Magnet Pull. That's an ability.
I don't
It
think
can be
there's
trapped
anything
pretty
that,
easy.
yeah, and I mean, it's got a lot of coverage, but either you have to sacrifice some of your bulk for the ability to deal good damage, or you may not be able to do enough damage against whatever is trying to trap you.
Hmm.
Um, so it's going to be a tough thing. And the only reason why I really am against like just Assault Vest Tangrowth all the time is it means that you can't use any of Tangrowth's
Hmm.
supporting moves,
Yeah.
which it has some nice stuff.
Yeah. I do also want to say it's not just Tangrowth. He has a few really good Assault Vest users. Incineroar and Lando T as well. With Intimidate Assault Vest, become very bulky. Um, but yeah, it's definitely Assault Vest being an item helps this team a lot. But that special defense stat, man, you need to go those stats up a little bit. I do
Uh,
also want to just quickly touch on Terra typings. Stellar Terra on the Marowak. I'm not sure how well he's going to use that. It doesn't quite function like my Dodrio will, so I'm interested to see how he makes use of it. But um, the Terra typings on the Darkspun are fucking amazing. Grass and Steel with Fire type immunity from its ability become very good defensive typings. And Fortress is Fortress. Like, what do you say about Fortress? You have Terra Water on it, so you're not weak to fighting or fire anymore. Good job. That's all you needed.
yeah, overall, very solid team and has some impressive things. It's just, especially when you get to like the top three spots, you need to look at what are the big weaknesses. And
Mm-hmm.
sadly, that special defense stat is what dragged it down. Otherwise, love the team, very threatening.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, not sure really where you would trade things out to make it better. Maybe drop an Azelf
How
or
dare
an
you?
Incineroar.
Leave
Yeah,
the buff baby alone.
neither of them I really want to drop, but it's one of the things.
Leave the
If you
buff
want
baby
to,
alone.
you know what? Fine, drop the Iron Bundle. Fuck that thing. I don't want to
True.
fight it.
You don't need
Just
Iron
drop the Iron
Bundle.
Bundle. Drop the Iron Bundle. It's not a good mon, trust me.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can move on to two.
You mean one? That was two.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, one.
Number one team coming back again this season for the number one team in power rankings. I swear it's not a joke. I swear. We have Blank and the Detroit Darkrai's picking up their mascot this season. They got Darkrai. Um, just overall, really surprisingly strong team. Pan and I were talking about it a little bit, and we really did. Like, I was trying to poke some holes in it and find weaknesses and such. I really had a hard time doing so. Uh, like he had come to me, he had already had his list prepped for the rankings, and I saw that blank was number 1 again, and I was like, I didn't think his team was that great this season. Let me look at it. I was thinking it was maybe gonna be like 4 or 5, and I'm looking at it, and yeah, well, it's a really solid team.
Yeah, I will say that I had quickly just thrown together a list of rankings, and a lot of the teams I was struggling to figure out where I wanted to put them. Blank's team, I actually was the one team that I felt very confident being like, this is a number 1 team. Just between like it's got support with sticky webs and stealth rock. Um, it's got some wish passing and solid. It's got a Moongus with a generator, solid defensive mon, Dawn Fan for spin. Um, Celesteela,
Delibird for
good luck
spin.
killing. Look, if you're not running anything other than hustle fucking Brave Bird, you're a bitch.
Delibird for rapid spin. He gotta get that speed up so then he can collect Brave Bird.
um, and like Darkrai it may be allowed, and so it's not like it's still a bad mon. It's still worth its 19 points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not like we threw it down to 5 points. It was just like, yeah, you can Terra with this bitch. We don't care.
Just because it's hard to use its ability doesn't make it a bad Pokemon. It is still very strong, very fast, has insane coverage. It can set up with Nasty Plot and Calm Mind. It can also set up with Swords Dance. It doesn't have a bad attack stat at all. It has a pretty good physically offensive move pool as well. It gets Thunder Wave, Toxic, and Will-O-Wisp. And being that fast, maybe there's a week you don't want to run it as an offensive threat. Maybe you want to make it more of a support Pokemon with like Taunt, Will-O-Wisp. And it can do that. It can do it really well. Taunt,
And hey,
Taunt Will-O-Wisp and Disable Haze. Go Burr.
don't hate
Go
on just
crazy.
throwing out a Hypnosis.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and it's not a great move, but it's definitely been run before. You could hit it. You could run Wide Lens Hypnosis if you wanted to.
That's a set.
And I mean, you did pair it with a Moongus, which means you have a Pokemon who can put other things to sleep. Then you can switch Darkrai in, get that passive damage off, and while they're asleep, you can set up a Nasty Plot in their face. They're taking damage, and you're setting up. You didn't even have to do it. One of your other Pokemon did.
Yeah.
Another just quick note is Oricorio, amazing Terra Captain. With all 4 forms being available. Flying, Ice, and Ground typings. Flying, so that way it can run a Flying type Revelation Dance and not have a inaccurate stab Flying type move. Great. Ice and Ground for great coverage. Same typings we saw in it last season. I'm hoping we can see it do a bit more this season than the last time. It came in like halfway through last season. If you only watched Power Rankings, you missed it. Because I stopped uploading after that. Unless you watch Shy's videos. If you watch Shy's videos, you saw it.
Watch Shy's videos.
You might have seen Oricorio. I don't know if he brought Oricorio to that match, but
Watch Shy's videos.
yeah, watch Shy's videos. Shy is great. We love Shy. We spent like the first minute of this video switching Discord servers that way Shy might be able to join in if he randomly shows up like last time. We love Shy.
I'm so disappointed he didn't show up, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. And then yeah, Miltank with normal fairy and water. Water with both Thick Fat and Sap Sipper as potential abilities. You can either only be weak to electric or quad resist fire and ice with this Pokemon. Which is crazy. Scrappy is also a great ability to punch through ghost types. Miltank is just a really good Pokemon in general. Blank did not know how fast it was until we were prepping earlier. I told him it was base 100 speed, and he was shocked.
On what?
Miltank.
Oh yeah, no, Miltank is dumb fast.
Uh-huh.
There's no reason Miltank should be that fast. I do not know why they ever made him that fast.
And then, last thing I just want to touch on, It's like we mentioned Sticky Webs from Slurpuff. Slurpuff is also a Wish Passer, just like your Vaporeon. It can be a very good support Pokemon. It also gets Belly Drum and Unburden.
No, don't tell them about the belly drum Unburden set.
It also gets Belly Drum and Unburden. So it can hit things really hard and be really fast. I've swept someone in draft with Unburdened Slurpuff before. I've tried it multiple times and failed multiple times, but I have accomplished it once. So it can be done.
There is the capability for it to kill everything.
And yeah, I don't think there's much to say about this team. I tried really hard to poke holes in it, and there's just not much wrong with it.
Alright, I think that kind of concludes our
Yeah.
spiel of the teams.
So, if you enjoyed the shit show and want us to do more, yell at us, give us pizza, buy us pizza. Buy me pizza. Don't buy him pizza.
No, buy me a pizza. I'm the one that said that we're buyable. Mainly, I am buyable. I can just kidnap this man, make him record a video. It's fine.
Yeah,
I
no,
see pizza.
you want us, you want to see us do more? Give us a reason to. Otherwise, we'll probably do this every season of this as long as this league continues, because I think it's fun. We'll get shy in one of these eventually, I promise.
For a full video, not just the
Yeah.
ending of.
And yeah, go watch Shy's videos. His link will probably be in the description. He's great at this. He's so much better at making content than I am. So, yeah, that's all I got. Bye, everyone.
Bye.